This is Michael Clara. I'm currently serving as a commissioner in the Salt Lake City Housing Authority Board, and this is part 2 of a series that I'm explaining about a merger study that the commissioners had done earlier this year, and then how there's just this effort afoot to try to bury it. And it looks like now, it's going to have get the attention it deserves. But I'm just doing a chronological report here in this PowerPoint presentation on what happened and how it almost was just buried. And so at the end of part 1, I explained that we had received a resignation letter, the commissioners did. This is a copy of the email on April 6, 2015 that we received from Terry Feveryear, who is the executive director of the Salt Lake City Housing Authority. And part 1 leads up to how we got to this point, at least as it relates to the merger study. And in the resignation letter, she explains that she doesn't believe that she has the full support or trust of the full board, is what she says. Then what happens is, following that resignation letter, as you can see in the email, she said that she was going to meet with Phil. Following the meeting with Phil, then a meeting is called. And the meeting says that on the agenda, it's going to discuss and approve a resolution of support for Terry Feveryear as executive director. So I'm not sure how they got to, a resignation letter, and then there must have been some phone calls and emails and back and forth as to how they arrived at making a resolution to support her in spite of a resignation letter. And I'm still in the dark about it because there's no minutes to that meeting. I was not able to make the meeting because I had some other obligations and couldn't change my schedule that quickly. But the meeting happened. It was posted and noted, but I have no idea, what the result of it was, because at our next meeting in April, where we typically would have approved the minutes for that prior meeting, no minutes are presented. So I'm left in the dark as to how the resignation is off, but I'm assuming it's off by the fact that the agenda for that meeting showed that they were going to pass a resolution saying so. So anyways, it looks like there was some backroom discussion outside of the public meeting that was going on to reverse that resignation letter. So coming back here to what's out in the public and following the Open Meetings Act of the state of Utah, the city council had posted a housing authority merger study on their agenda for June 16th. When I was made aware of that, in fact, it was Terry that sent us an email on June 8th telling us about that agenda item for the city council. Then I write her a reply email saying that, city council should hear from Bob Springmeyer himself, who made the merger study report at the behest of the city commissioners and county commissioners of the housing authority. And I remind her in this email that I wanted him to come to the commissioners, but that she was opposed to that. And as a result of her opposition, then the commissioners compromised on that and said that a committee, those of us that served on the subcommittee that studied the merger report through the fall and winter, this past fall and winter, would reconvene, and Terry was a part of that committee with 3 of the city commissioners, and we would explore the Section 8 voucher merger with the programs. We would explore that further. But I'm asking her in this email on June 10th, what happened to that? So just by way of review, I went over this meeting of March 30th in part 1 of this series, but I'm going to go on to do some snippets, if you will, of different parts of the meeting that I didn't cover in part 1, but it'll give you an idea as to what we were discussing in that March 30th meeting. What I'm saying is I wanted it on the webpage last month.
So it was incorrect. But it was incorrect.
I know.
Yeah.
But it puts me in a bad position, because then I come to this meeting and I can't represent in the interests of people in the community if they don't have the benefit of reading this before I came here today. This is why I would not vote to support this or to move forward. I'm asking for this to be delayed so that the public can see this. Because what I'm understanding from one of the city council members, they're going to have Springmeyer come and give a report on this. And that's going to make us look silly, I think, if he gets bypassed here. So I'm recommending that he come and give this report, because you're knocking his report without the benefit of him.
No, the issue was, Mike, that he issued the report publicly when it was still wrong.
Publicly where?
To the county. To the county.
He took off the word draft and said, now this is the final report.
But where did he present it publicly?
Excuse me, no, when he presented it to the committee,
Right.
the final one, draft was removed.
Yeah, then it was a public document.
Those committee meetings were confidential.
Well, they were in the beginning, but Kerry Bate, his board chair, was one of the committee members who works for the mayor, and he took it to the mayor.
Well, no, this has been other people in government.
I know, but what they saw was inaccurate, because Bob had not corrected what we asked him to correct when he made it public by taking the word draft off.
Right.
And we said, Bob, until you fix those corrections, make them, we're not going to distribute it. It needs to be accurate before it goes public.
Okay.
The county has been using the inaccurate report for them to discuss, so forth.
Okay.
We've been waiting for Bob to make his corrections.
But at that last meeting, when I learned that Kerry had distributed it to the mayor and Carlton Christensen, I came back to the office and I sent it to our mayor's office and Mike Ackerlow, because he's been very involved in this as well.
And it has
So the city is aware,
somehow.
but I told them that the information in it is not correct.
Okay, so how do we close? What I'm recommending is we close the loop on that. We have this, a draft report that's not correct. We have one that's correct. I'm recommending that we have Springmeyer come and give the report where we can ask him questions and clear this up.
Well, I don't know what it would clear up, because when on our subcommittee meeting, when we asked him questions about what did it mean, he didn't know. They hadn't really studied what it would mean to move, he's given us sort of a final report that a merger is not possible. It's not for the best benefit of our people we serve. And maybe we need to do another study on this thing about the voucher issue.
Section 8.
And I don't think we have the funding to pay someone to do a study on this voucher issue. So maybe we need to...
Well, I'm not asking for a study. I just want clarification on this, because now we have people pointing fingers.
But Bob can't give us a clarification. He doesn't know. He's even said.
I don't know that. Well, that's what I...
In our subcommittee meeting, the three of us sat on, Bob said he didn't know. He just thought it was a good idea, but he had no idea if it would work.
So why are we opposed to him coming here and telling us?
No, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying it'd be hard to ask him questions and have him say, I don't have an answer.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to hear that from him. I just hear a lot of people
I've talked to him.
Okay.
And we talked to him in our committee meetings. The three of us were on it, and we asked him, he did not know.
Okay.
So I don't know.
People are quoting him, people are quoting Terry, and...
They're quoting that. They're not quoting Bob. I've talked to Bob. No one from the city council has talked to him.
That's not true.
Well, that's what he told me.
Okay, no, that people, they're quoting him to...
They're quoting that. They're not quoting that.
People that have talked to him about this, and so that's why I'm saying that as a policymaker, it's difficult for me to make a decision on this if everybody's quoting everybody else, which I think that, to fix this, he should come and give a report, just like we did.
Just one question on that, because I'm still confused. We hired him to do the study on a merge.
I know.
He found it not recommended.
Organization, I agree with that.
So don't we have to move somewhere else to want to move forward for us to consider giving up the voucher program? or contracting it out.
I'm not even talking about that at all.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what this was going to do. Accepting what his recommendation was is not to do the merge.
But he gave more recommendations. All right, so there you have it for the, he kind of gives you an idea, and if you saw part one of this, then you really have a full picture of what was going on that that March 30th meeting. And for all intents and purposes, I believe they were just not going to allow this report to see the light of day and to have its due, but because the city council asked for a report on it, you'll see a whole different attitude now in this video. At one point the video freezes, but the audio continues, and I do fast forward it. I think it's like a 30-minute presentation, but I'm only using 5 minutes of it here in the interest of time to give you some idea that you have Palmer DePaulis, who is the vice chair, and Phil Bernal, who is the chair, have a whole different attitude now about Section 8 from what you heard in the March 30th meeting. And after we had agreed in the March 30th meeting that we would review this, I sent an email asking when are we going to meet, and they just ignore me. They don't, want to answer that. And then there was some other drama going on that they tried to do to retaliate against me for asking questions, and I cover that in part 3 of this series, of this retaliation part that they try to pull that has just gotten them in more trouble. But here you see this. I believe in a very deceitful way, they present to the city council that, oh no, we want to know what's going on with the Section 8's merger, and we want to look into it, and we want to get the city council involved in this kind of stuff, that you'll see this interesting change of attitude than what you heard in the March 30th meeting and in the meeting prior to that. And I believe that unfortunately the board, the commissioner here has just been co-opted by the executive director, and instead of following the evidence and what we find in the merger report, he wants to be beguiled by her and what she's saying about this report. And there's a part in this meeting that they speak to the city council, and they either didn't read the report or they're just being deceitful to the city council. And I don't think I show that on here, but if you can go to the city council webpage and look at the entire interview, and you'll see that what they're saying does not match what's in the merger report.
Introduction do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Housing Authority is here today to talk about a merger study that was conducted. There have been, I believe in the history, a handful of occasions when a merger between the City Housing Authority and the County Housing Authority has been proposed or discussed, and wanted to take the opportunity to go into a full study. Bob Springmeyer of Bonneville Research conducted the study, and that is in your packets. The end result is a recommendation to not merge the authorities. So a little bit of history of that is going to be explained. Second part will be considerations around one, not recommendation to consider merging the Section 8 voucher programs for the county and for the city. And
sorry, so I am breaking in here to just make the point, and I should have made this earlier. This is a video from the City Council webpage, but then the like the graphics that you see on there, I added those, and just to kind of demonstrate, to illustrate what they're talking about. So the graphics were not part of the original presentation.
And this is a brief space in the actual study. It's something that was recommended to follow up and look into further. The initial rationale was looking at cost savings in an opportunity to merge the two, and I think that the City Housing Authority wants to open that scope up to look at all of the different issues that might come into play when merging. What does it mean to have voucher programs come together? What are gives and takes, wins and losses in that. And that's going to be a longer process that is going to begin, I believe, in earnest at the June 29th retreat that the Housing Authority has set up. I have been, or council staff have been invited to attend that, plan to attend, hand staff have been invited to attend, so we'll be able to keep up on what's going on there too.
So we're waiting for a board meeting that will discuss this in particular. So that's interesting. We may be a little bit ahead of that cart, but
we can come back.
Yeah, good. And what about decision-making authority, Sean?
You know, that was a question that I had as well.
You talked about if there is a merger of the Section 8.
Right.
It would take both the county and the city housing authorities together to agree to do such a venture.
Okay, so this is a courtesy briefing. We, as the city council, don't have any formal decision-making authority, whether to merge fully or part or any. Okay.
Right, but part of what we intend to do with our retreat is involve council staff, mayor staff, and we want to discuss this pretty thoroughly and be able to come back to you and make sure that you as policymakers, and of course on the mayor's side as well, have input into how this is going to happen.
Okay, great.
So we just didn't want to do it in isolation.
Yeah, fantastic. We appreciate that. Sean, anything else?
Let me just pick up from there. Going forward, we received the report in March from Bonneville Research, and at that time, we had, in fact, it was my motion to study it further in a subcommittee fashion. And I was also having surgery on my ankle at that time, and I was going to be out of commission for 6 weeks. So on further thought, I recommended that, and this is with Phil and Terry and myself as the executive committee, that it might be better to really have a thorough discussion of this with the whole board at the retreat itself. And we could have Bonneville come in, make the presentation to the whole board. We could have a thorough discussion of it, and with city staff and council staff. And so we could kind of really process this thoroughly with the entire board. And that's the direction we've agreed to go in. So on the 29th, we have the retreat scheduled, and we're putting the agenda together with our facilitator, actually tomorrow. We're meeting with our facilitator tomorrow, and we're going to put the agenda together so that we can deal with the suggestion, the recommendation that Bonneville made to look at the voucher merger part of this, and then further discuss how we want to process that, to make sure, as Phil was saying,